Hello everybody, and welcome to this video tutorial that's going to show you how to install Pi-Hole, which is a network-wide ad blocking server, DNS server, on your network using a Raspberry Pi. Now, if you haven't heard of this before, the Pi-Hole server is a DNS server that allows you to block over 110,000 domains that are providing adverts into your web browsing and also into your mobile apps, and etc, etc. And it's extremely cool. Basically, at home, take a look at it here. My current 24-hour status is a total of 25,000 requests, and unbelievably the amount of connections it's blocked, preventing adverts loading, and also trackers and analytical trackers are on 10,000, which means about 40% of the connections that my network at home is making is just really unwanted. So it's transparent to any of the devices. You just need to redirect and use your DNS server that we're going to set up with a Raspberry Pi instead of using your ISP's DNS server, but I'll get into those details later on down the demo. So for the project, I have an Amazon affiliate store which has all the little bits that you could need. This is a Raspberry Pi with a case, a 16 gig memory card, and a power supply, a network cable, a HDMI cable, and I've got two combos of keyboard and mouse, a USB and a wireless 2.4 touchpad. I've actually got this guy here, very useful. I connect it over to laptops that I might have connected to my TV, and wirelessly I can just type away and control the mouse pointer, etc. It's not Bluetooth, it's just standard 2.4 gigahertz wireless. So, you know, the project could cost you about £50, £60 to get up and running. If you already have a keyboard, mouse, or HDMI cables or network cables, you obviously don't need to get any of those. But if you purchase any of these items, I'll make a small amount of commission and I'll be very grateful. So what else you will need? So you'll need to download the Raspbian Pi software, which is a 1 gig or so download. To unzip the file, you're going to need Winrar. So you just do this free download and install a 32 or 64-bit version, and that will be able to unpack the file that will give us an image file. And the image file we burn using, we write it out to the memory card using Balena Etcher. So download and install this software again. So the next step will show you the actual file that you'll end up downloading from Raspbian. You right click on it and choose to extract here. You'll have this option once you've installed Winrar, and I'll extract it now. It's going to be a 4 gig file. It's going to take half a minute or so to decompress, depending on the speed of your machine. And again, for the sake of making this video shorter, I will be fast forwarding or cutting out these bits that we're going to be waiting 5 or 10 minutes for updates to happen, just to make the video shorter. The actual steps that we need to do is only a handful of them. It's very few, but there's a few updates to do that will take a little while. So let's wait for this to decompress. And there it is. So now we head over to the Balena Etcher software. And what we do is choose this file. So we'll pick the IMG file that we've decompressed, that's 4 gigs. Now automatically Balena has decided that it's found one memory card on my system. Be careful here, because if you've got a USB stick, it might pick that. It's best to double check that you're on the right device on your system and you don't end up accidentally erasing another USB stick that you've got connected onto your computer. So I'm happy that it's actually, I need to double check that myself, as let me verify by removing the memory card which one it is. That one disappeared off the list, so I'm going to connect that back up and choose that guy. So we're going to write the image to my 16 gig SD card and not to my 16 gig USB stick. And we hit on flash. Now this is going to take about 5 minutes or so, so I'll be fast forwarding the video. Okay, so we're going to get this Windows pop-up error because it's a Linux partition, and we hit cancel and we can confirm that we've successfully written one memory card image out. So what I'm going to do now is connect a network cable to my Raspberry Pi, HDMI, USB stick, USB 2.4 gigahertz dongle for the keyboard and the mouse, and we're going to give it power. And here we have the Raspberry Pi booting up. Okay, so here we can see the desktop. We're going to go through the startup procedure. Let me just turn on my keyboard. So what's going to happen here is just going to choose keyboard settings, and we'll update the Pi, which will take another 5-7 minutes. So we have an IP address already showing from my network, which is great. We click on next. I agree to the UK and British keyboard layout. I'm going to leave the password as Raspberry at the moment. I'm not going to bother with changing the screen resolution, and I'm going to update the software. Okay, so the system's updated and it's now going to need to restart. So let's do that. Okay, so we're ready to do one more bit of housekeeping. We'll open up Terminal and we'll want to expand the memory card, as we've written a 4 gig image onto a 16 gig memory card. We want the system to use the whole memory card space. So we'll do sudo space raspi-config, and we're going to get this small DOS looking piece of menu system, and we're going to go over to advanced options, and using the arrow keys and enter, we're going to tap on expand file system, and then we click OK, and we press the tab key to go down to the select menu and then the finish option. And let's reboot again. And here we are rebooted. Let's open up Terminal, and we're going to install the Pi-Hole server. So we're going to go with the command curl space -s capital SL, then https install pi-hole .net, and then we pipe that to bash. And I didn't type in net correctly, so I'm just using the arrow keys to correct myself. That looks better. Okay, so one choice that I'm going to make here is give the IP address during the installation a fixed manual IP address for this Raspberry Pi. I don't want it to get an automatic IP address from my router and maybe later in the future change. I want to make it a fixed IP address. So if you look at the back of your router, which we're going to need to log into it later to change one setting so that we integrate the Raspberry Pi with your network, take a look at the router and you'll see that it has an IP address 192.168.1.1, for example. And what I would do in the installation is use the next number on that range. So if it was 1.1, it would end with 1.2. In my scenario here, I'm going to choose 0.5 because I know that's my free space in IP range, in my numbering. So we'll choose OK, and we'll choose OK, and here we go with the static IP address, and we're going to choose a DNS server that this is going to use. In this case, I'm happy to go with Google, although you have got a selection. We're going to be happy downloading all these lists that make up the 110,000 domains that it blocks. We're going to press Tab and choose OK. We're happy for it to support IPv4 and v6. We're going to press Tab and click OK. And now this IP address, which is what my network is currently assigned, I want to say no to that, and I'm going to edit the 226 and make it 192.168.223.5. Again, you would do 192.168, whatever your number is at home, and then whatever number you want to choose dot for your device. In this case, I would maybe recommend by default choosing .2. So we press the Tab key to get to the OK, and we're happy with that IP address for the gateway, because that would always be the correct one that's just being given to the device by your ISP modem. And we choose OK, and I'm happy with those settings. And yes, I do want a web interface to take a look at what's going on.
Hello.
And I also want to accept a light HTTPD server installation. I want to log all queries so that I can see a history of all the tracking that's been going on, and show everything, and choose OK. Okay, and there we have it. The installation is complete, and it's given us a password, the LUJ48 so and so, and that for me is something that I'm not going to remember easily connecting into my Pi-Hole server. So I'm going to want to change that password, and I'll show you how to do that now. We're going to click OK. So Pi-Hole is already installed and up and running, and what we're going to do now is command Pi-Hole -a -p, and the new password, I'll just put in Pi-Hole. I might have mistyped that. Let's try again, and there you go, a new password is set to it. So now I'm going to switch back over to my laptop. We're done with the Raspberry Pi, and it's fully up and running for it to work. Okay, so let's see if we can access that server. .0.2 -admin, that's the address. Sorry, not 0.2, that's my home one, 223.5 -admin. And there it is, up and running, already performed 31 queries, and it's ready to be used. Now, how to integrate this with your network. So the next things that you're going to need to, there's a couple of ways of doing it. I'll show you the simplest, but the next phase is actually logging into your ISP modem. And what we want to do is we want to set the DNS server that the ISP modem should use to our 192.168.223.5 IP address of the Raspberry Pi running Pi-Hole. So I know that my modem, and this info should be at the back of your ISP modem, including login details. I know that's the IP address of my router. I'm going to log in. And the menu that I'm looking in this particular system is the LAN menu, and you're looking for the DHCP server. So here is the DHCP server on the ASUS or your ISP modem, and this is what gives your IP addresses to your equipment as it connects in. Now, if you notice on my particular system, the DNS server is blank. If it's blank, it means that it's going to use the ISP modem's IP address as your DNS server. So when a machine connects onto the network, it's going to give it a number between 223 to 254. It'll pick one that's available and hasn't been given to any other system, and it's going to give it a 192.168.223.1 as a gateway and also as a DNS server. So I don't want it to be 223.1 anymore as a DNS server, and what I need to do is fill in 192.168.223.5 here and scroll down to the bottom and apply those settings. That's now going to be the new DNS server IP address that is going to be given to the devices that connect onto my network. So the next thing that you would need to do is actually unplug or disconnect and reconnect back onto your network so that your phone, tablet, computer picks up these new details from your ISP modem. This is one way to set up and integrate the Raspberry Pi with your network. I'm going to quickly show you another way of doing it, which is personally my preferred method of doing it, and that is actually to turn off DHCP service totally on the ISP modem and activating the Pi-Hole's DHCP server. So pretty much, once again, just to show you what I would mean if we were to do it, we go back into the ISP modem, we go back to LAN and DHCP server. Again, just look and track down the DHCP server on your device, and we would be looking at actually turning this off, saying enable server on this modem, no, turn it off, and we'd hit apply, right? And then we'll go over to the Raspberry Pi's, oh, I thought I had it open. Oh, I don't. So let's just open it here. 223.5/admin, and we'd log into the Pi-Hole server. Doesn't have a username, it just has a password. And then we would go over to settings, and we go over to DHCP, and we would enable the DHCP server on the Raspberry Pi and go down to the button and click on save. And that's all you would need to do. Turn off the DHCP server on your ISP modem and then turn on the DHCP server on the Raspberry Pi. And this way it will, all the equipment that connects onto your network will now get an IP address from the Pi, and the Pi will give it itself as a DNS server and end up again all the requests that you perform using the Pi-Hole server get checked on that list, and if what you're looking, or whatever software or whatever website, whatever device you're using, whatever it tries to load, if it's on that blacklist, it will just cut it off. It won't even let it go through, so it just literally doesn't load and doesn't communicate. It's like as if that server doesn't exist and it's offline and not on the internet. It will just cut the cord and not allow it to communicate with that server. So those are the two methods that you can use to integrate with the Pi-Hole server with your ISP modem. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. In the description there will be all the commands I've typed in, all the links to the Raspbian downloads and the Winrar and the Balena Etcher, and everything will be listed in the description so that you can sort of quickly reference to it and get your Pi-Hole server up and running. I certainly did, and it's fantastic. I mean, if you think about how many things are tracking you on the net nowadays, it is sort of a little bit too much. We all know that our activity on the net has become the new gold. They are tracking us, knowing where we go, place to place. I understand some websites obviously use adverts to support the running of their site, but unfortunately it's not just the adverts that pop up on the screen. There is a ton of analytical statistics that they're building up on you. They know how many times you're coming back, they know where you're doing it. They're building up databases of information of traffic based on your activity, and that's just a little bit too much, as they say, in my opinion. So thank you very much for watching, and take care.